Folks, we already have starting lineups for leg number 2 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup between Inter Miami and Nashville. And folks, welcome on in to Pink Smoke, where we talk everything Inter Miami, everything Lionel Messi. And the story with our Herons today, we are an hour out, actually now officially under an hour out from kickoff at Chase Stadium in South Florida. Our Inter Miami Herons are tied on the aggregate 0-0 with Nashville. And I think Coach Mascherano, the Herons, drawing 0-0 in Nashville this time last Wednesday, that's a result that you take. Nashville, a tough place to play, a very tough team. We had Sacha Kljestan on last week of Apple TV and former MLS striker and United States men's national team striker. He told us how great this Nashville team is. I agree. The road result was great. But tonight, wow, I'm all over Inter Miami. I'm all over the Herons tonight. This is a house of horrors for Nashville. Keep in mind, last year in the MLS Cup playoffs, Messi did messy things and bounced this team out of the tournament. Inter Miami had a massive game at home, beat the brakes out of Nashville, and were able to tie the series up, which went to a game 3 in Nashville, and Lionel Messi again having a brace and an assist in the fixture. So I really think tonight you're going to see more of the same from Inter Miami and Lionel Messi. Messi, a player who has terrorized Nashville more than any MLS team in the entire league. I mean, this is a team in Nashville that the boogeyman for their club in the last 3 or 4 years has been Lionel Messi and has been Inter Miami. And to be fair, it all started when Messi came to Inter Miami. But in multiple competitions, CONCACAF Champions Cup, the MLS regular season, the Supporter Shield run, the MLS Cup playoffs, Inter Miami has always been that team, and I think you're going to see more of the same. Let me get you the starting lineups for Inter Miami and Nashville tonight. Inter Miami going back to their 4-2-3-1. 4-2-3-1, 4 defenders, 2 midfielders, and 4 attackers, 3 being in the midfield, and then 1 striker, a lone striker up top. Let's start on the defensive side from left to right. Lone striker up top is Germán Berterame. Berterame, one of those players that was a very big acquisition for Inter Miami in the offseason. He does not have a goal yet in all competitions, but we all know the quality that Germán Berterame offers for an MLS lineup like our Inter Miami Herons. So Reguilón, Mikael, Luan, Mora, Bright, DePaul, Segovia, Messi, Allende, and Berterame, and Dane St. Clair in net. Let's flip it on over to Nashville because they're running the same formation with a 4-2-3-1. In goal for Nashville, you got Brian Schwacke. So Schwacke getting the nod for Nashville. The back line, Lovitz, Wolvedesi, Palacio, and Nahar. The 2 defensive mids, Corcoran and Yazbek, and then the three attackers and striker, Espinoza, Mukhtar, Madrigal, and Sam Surridge. Sam Surridge finished third in the Golden Boot race last year, the Golden Boot race in the MLS, meaning he had the third most goals in the league. So a dangerous lineup, specifically, in my opinion, with Sam Surridge and Hany Mukhtar. Hany Mukhtar, the 2023 MLS Player of the Year. And that's the starting 11s for Inter Miami tonight. Now, Damian Perez, my producer and co-host, you just heard the starting 11. You heard my spiel about how Inter Miami has been the boogeyman for Nashville. This game being at home for Inter Miami, are you as confident as I am in our Herons coming up tonight?
Yeah, this is a very, very, very important game because I think coming into the season, we can both agree the CONCACAF Champions was one of the main priorities for Inter Miami this season after having such a successful season in the MLS last year. With that being said, I think Inter Miami over the weekend, they subbed out a lot of players. A lot of the starters didn't even travel with the team, Messi being one of them. So you can kind of tell from that that they circled this game. This game was the priority this week. And it's worth noting, too, Nashville also rotated a lot of players. Sam Surridge did not come out until late. Same with Mukhtar. They still ended up beating Columbus. So good result for them. But, yeah, I think this game is going to be very important for Inter Miami. Hopefully history repeats itself. Last year, Inter Miami lost the first game of the playoffs in Nashville 2-1. And we all know what happened after that. So, like I said, hopefully history repeats itself and it's on our side this go around.
Let's update you a little bit on what's going on around the CONCACAF Champions Cup. For those of you that don't know what the CONCACAF Champions Cup is, the best way I could compare it is think of Champions League on the Europe side. This is where the best teams in the Western Hemisphere, specifically the Americas, Central America, and North America, where they come and determine who is the best, similar to how the Europeans do in Champions League. It's a round of 16. Inter Miami automatically went into the round of 16 because they won the MLS. But Inter Miami, in my opinion, got a pretty tough draw with Nashville, currently sitting at 0-0. There are no goals in that first leg. Philadelphia and America Liga MX team. America is actually up 1-0 in the aggregate over Philadelphia. That game is going to be in America coming up tonight. So Philadelphia losing 1-0 at home in the first fixture. Damian, Philadelphia has not been the same team this year than they were last year.
Yeah, nightmare start for Philadelphia. What is it? 3 losses in the MLS,
Yep.
and then the loss against America at home in CONCACAF Champions. Not the best start for the Supporter Shield's champions from last year.
Now they've lost. They lost Ty Baribo, their leading goal scorer last year. Baribo playing for DC United after getting traded and signing a 5-year deal. So they're missing a lot of key players on that team, but Philadelphia is struggling. Cincinnati absolutely eviscerated Tigres at home. That matchup is going to be coming up tomorrow in the second leg. Cincinnati up 3-0 on the aggregate. And then Seattle, a very good competition team, Dane. What do I mean by that? Very good tournament team. You saw Seattle win Leagues Cup against our Inter Miami Herons last year. They're up 3-0 over Vancouver.
They made it to the finals last year.
Yeah. They're up 3-0 over Vancouver on the aggregate. Let's turn into the other side of things. San Diego is up 3-2 on Toluca. That matchup in Toluca, the second leg coming up tonight, Toluca down 1 goal. LA Galaxy. The Galaxy, after having a nightmare year last year, having a very good start in the MLS and also in CONCACAF Champions Cup. They're facing off against Mount Pleasant. They're up 3-0 on the aggregate. They will be at Mount Pleasant and their place coming up tonight. So, Damian, what do you think of the LA Galaxy and their big year that they've had so far?
Yeah, this could be one of those luck of the draw in CONCACAF Champions.
They got their Jamaica team, Mount Pleasant.
No disrespect, but you could have been paired up with a harder team.
Yeah.
But this is a team who, not last year, the year before, they were the champions of the MLS. Last year they had a horrible season. So I would assume that this year they're looking for that bounce back.
Now, Damian, the winner of the competition, Cruz Azul, last year, Cruz Azul this year is already advanced. They beat Monterrey 3-2, and then they drew at home and ended up winning on the aggregate 4-3. So Cruz Azul, the defending champs, seeing their way through. And then LAFC, did you see how they won with
Oh,
the
they
Martinez
sweated
goal?
it out.
Dude, how about that goal by Davi Martinez? That's your guy, too. Davi Martinez, a Venezuelan footballer, scored against Inter Miami, could have arguably had 2 goals, but was a whisker left on the second one. But they won, and Dame, you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation here. LD Alawahense?
Yeah. You
Yeah,
nailed
I
it.
nailed it. Alawahense. How about that? Hanging out with you has made my Spanish pretty good. But they actually win on the aggregate after they drew Alawahense at home, and then they scored 2 goals last night at Alawahense at the wee hours of the night, and the game winner came from Davi Martinez.
In the 92nd.
So right now, the only fixture we have in the round of 8 is LAFC and Cruz Azul. And I mentioned that Cruz Azul won this competition last year. LAFC, I think, the second best team in the MLS. Probably not fair because they beat our Inter Miami Herons 3-0. But I think when push comes to shove, I would take Inter Miami. Regardless, 2 of the best on this side of the hemisphere going to be doing battle coming up in the round of 8. But we're all focusing on the matchup tonight, or rather the matchups tonight. You're going to have Philadelphia and America, as well as Inter Miami and Nashville. And then coming up tomorrow night, you got Tigres and Cincinnati at Leg 2. And more tonight. I apologize. You got one more game tonight in the Seattle Sounders in Vancouver. But I mentioned that Vancouver, pretty much, in my opinion, out of it. Seattle is up 3-0 in that fixture.
And this is back in Seattle.
Damian, do you think Inter Miami got a tough draw with Nashville? I personally think so.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville is one of the better teams in the MLS, no doubt. And then if you did get past Nashville, you were playing against either the Supporter Shields champion in Philadelphia or Club America, which is probably coming into this tournament one of the favorites to win it all. So it's safe to say it was a tough draw.
Yeah, America, like I mentioned, they're up 1-0 over the Supporter Shield champion. And
now they go back to Mexico.
Yeah, and you know, the Liga MX, that's what it usually comes down to. And me being an American, loving the MLS and loving our league, I always root, as long as it's not Orlando, I always root for an MLS team to win any of these competitions. Obviously, I prefer it be our Inter Miami Herons. But if Inter Miami is out of it, I'm usually rooting for the MLS team over a Liga MX team. But Liga MX, they have solid teams year in and year out. I was a little disappointed in Cruz Azul and what they did last year in Leagues Cup and the way they lost to Seattle. Was that like a 7-0 game?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even
Very
put
lopsided.
out, and they didn't even put out a lineup in that game. And that was the CONCACAF Champions Cup winners last year. So I got on them a little bit for that last year, but we are all getting ready for 7 o'clock, almost 45 minutes away from Inter Miami and Nashville. I mentioned that Lionel Messi is playing tonight, and he is playing that central attacking midfielder role. I kind of think it'll turn in more of a false 9. Damian, I like when Messi is a striker, meaning I like the 4-4-2. That's probably my favorite formation for Inter Miami. Folks, a 4-4-2, back in the day, that in like the late 90s, early 2000s, that was the formation.
Right.
You kind of don't see a 4-4-2 in like
4-3-3 took over.
It really did. And like the point I'm trying to make is 4-4-2, it works for this club because you have Lionel Messi, who plays a ball-dominant striker, and you have Herman Berterame, who plays an advanced forward. But something that I found out about Berterame, what impresses me the most about him is his hustle.
Yeah.
And his ability to pass. Like, I expected Berterame to come here and bag goals, and we haven't necessarily seen that. And that's why I like the 4-4-2 the most, is because, number one, Lionel Messi is dangerous, I think, the most with the ball at his feet. Number two, I think Herman Berterame has shown me a lot of stuff, Damian, that I didn't know he was capable of doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Berterame. A lot of people are asking why he hasn't scored yet, but, I mean, if you watch those games, 2 or 3 goals in the past few games were basically 80% due to his effort, pressuring the defender. That's something that we did not have a lot last year. That pressure, being that first line of defense as a striker, is something Berterame does really well. And this year it's turned into goals. I think just off the top of my head, I can think of 2 goals where Berterame stole the ball, pretty much created the play and assisted, did everything except score. So I think for Berterame, the goals will come, but like you said, what's important is the hard work off the ball because you already have a Leo Messi who is 38 years old. He cannot press the way he would want to. So you need to kind of make up for that.
And folks, coming up at 6:20, we're going to be talking to Dax McCarty. Dax McCarty, former MLS footballer for FC Dallas, DC United, New York Red Bulls, and Chicago Fire. Also Nashville, who our Inter Miami Herons are playing tonight. But he's currently an analyst and broadcaster for Apple TV. That is Dax McCarty we're going to be speaking to in a few short moments. I'm going to get his opinion on this lineup tonight. And on a plethora of things, Lionel Messi related, Bertarame related, MLS, CONCACAF Champions Cup, and talk all that coming up next with Dax McCarty. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're hearing from Dax McCarty from Apple TV on your Inter Miami Radio Network.
What's up? Can you hear me, Mike?
I hear you loud and clear, brother. How are you? Dax McCarty joining the program right now. Appreciate his time here on our Inter Miami Radio Network. Obviously, Dax, folks, former MLS footballer, former United States men's national team footballer, and we all see him on Apple TV. Dax, first off, I saw what you said on MLS 360 with Luis in the box. Listen, I am a big Luis Suarez fan, but he did not get that first touch right, and he decided to go to ground.
Yeah, come on. Let's call a spade, Mike. You know, when you work in media, sometimes you have your biases here and there, but for the most part, there's nothing against Luis Suarez, but
No.
it was pretty clear as day that he went down. He took a bad first touch. Bradley Wright Phillips summed it up perfectly. We've all been there. I haven't been there a ton in the box. You know, usually I was the guy that was sitting outside the box waiting for scraps, but we could see from the replay, you know, it was a bad touch. He goes down. I don't even mind him going down, but don't grab your leg. There's nothing there, bud.
Yep.
Come on. Like, just move on. Keep it moving, Luis. I mean, he's been doing this for 20 years now, right? So it's just who he is. But, I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact that he's a wonderful player.
Now, Dax, we have a huge matchup tonight coming up with Inter Miami, the second leg of Nashville CONCACAF Champions Cup. In my personal opinion, tough draw for Inter Miami comparatively to maybe from what other teams got, especially winning the MLS. But where's your head at with this game tonight? Do you give the lead? Do you give the nod to Inter Miami being the home team, or do you think Nashville might have something in the tank for Inter Miami?
Yeah, Mike, it's a great game. We've come to expect now a little rivalry with Nashville and Inter Miami. Ever since both teams came into MLS at the same time in 2020, it seems like in a lot of knockout competitions, they always kind of see each other. It was right in the playoffs in 2020, and then it was CONCACAF Champions Cup last year, in the playoffs last year. So, you know, I think that Inter Miami should feel good about where they're at. I definitely think they're the favorites at home to win the game. But I said on MLS Countdown, I said, don't be surprised if Nashville SC pulls off an upset, because both teams got better in the offseason. Both teams added some significant pieces. But in year two, under BJ Callahan, it seems like that Nashville SC attack has really grown. And adding Christian Espinoza, a player who is so dynamic 1v1 out wide, really a player that Nashville had been missing for a number of years, it just brings another level and element to this attack. And I have no doubts that Inter Miami are going to get their chances, and they're probably going to score some goals tonight. But that Nashville SC attack is going to be able to counterpunch and go the other way and be very dangerous. And if Inter Miami fans or anyone watched that first leg in Nashville should have won the game. They had numerous opportunities in transition to really punish Miami. Miami seemed like they were a little bit sluggish. And I just wonder if not getting that away goal could come back to haunt Inter Miami, because if Nashville SC ends up finishing this game with a scoring draw, well, Nashville SC is going to go through on away goals. So I think this could be a banana peel for Inter Miami. They need to be really careful.
Now, Dax, let's stay there quickly on the away goals. Do you like that? Do you like that format with how away goals mean more? I don't. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think that it puts a little bit too much emphasis on if a team gets an away goal, then it changes the game, the complexion of the game so much. So I don't really love it, but that's the way it is. I think that you just have to adapt to the situation that you're in. And I was quite frankly a little bit surprised that Inter Miami did not do more last week to push Nashville SC to try to get that away goal. I thought they were a little bit toothless in the attack, which is weird talking about Inter Miami. I thought they didn't challenge Nashville SC's backline near enough. And the times that Messi got on the ball, that center back pairing of Jason Palacios and Maxwell Valedzi for Nashville SC, they really smothered him. And they did a really good job denying him the spaces that he wanted to go to. So that's going to be a big emphasis for tonight, I'm sure, with Nashville SC, that their midfield and Matthew Corcoran and Patrick Yazbek making a little box in there to be solid and not let Messi dictate the game. But guess what? Inter Miami's at home. Messi's going to find his chances. Nashville SC has to make sure that they deal with it in the same ways they did in leg one.
Dax McCarty, former MLS footballer and United States men's national team footballer, current Apple TV MLS broadcaster, is our guest here on Pink Smoke. I agree with you, partner. I thought Inter Miami, I was counting my chickens after that
Yeah.
game was, 0-0, and the performance that Dane St. Clair was able to put on. Where you at with Dane, Dax? Because I certainly, to begin the year, I mean, that LAFC game, I don't think he's played a worse game. And I've watched a lot of Dane
Yeah.
throughout MLS play. I thought that game against LAFC, I'm like, geez, they can't trot that brother out next game.
Yeah.
And then he's been better as the season's progressed. And Dax, I truly think that he was the reason Inter Miami was able to get a result in Nashville.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. And that's why they brought Dane St. Clair in. He has to be able to make the big saves in the big moments, because any team that I see right now with Inter Miami in terms of how they're built and how their roster is constructed with Lionel Messi up top and his ability to just attack and really take it easy defensively, Inter Miami's going to concede chances. They are going to give up chances going the other way. And too often, Oscar Ustari, he conceded soft goals. That's why he got benched, and Rocco Rios Novo came in and ended up helping them win MLS Cup, because he was making big-time saves left and right. Dane St. Clair is a bigger, more athletic version of Rocco Rios Novo. And so he is going to be a more commanding presence in the box on crosses. He's going to be able to be a little bit longer in terms of getting to certain shots that maybe Rios Novo couldn't. But the one issue that I see for Dane St. Clair is just his ability playing out of the back with his feet and making sure that he's really comfortable in this Javier Mascherano setup and that he doesn't overcomplicate the game, because Rocco Rios Novo is really good with his feet. He's very comfortable playing out of the back. That's something Dane St. Clair spoke to us about a couple months ago. He just said, look, I'm better than I'm given credit for, because I was playing at Minnesota United and all I had to do was kick the ball as far as I could. Now I've got to pick out passes and be a little bit more composed. And I think you're seeing Dane St. Clair get more comfortable with every game he plays.
And Dax, this is a goalkeeper that's trying to prove to Jesse Marsh, the head gaffer of Canada, that he deserves to be in that net come World Cup time. I mean, and then we'll get to the World Cup in a second. But once again, folks, Dax McCarty joining us, former MLS footballer, Apple TV analyst, United States men's national team player. Dax, a lot of new for Inter Miami this year. I guess that's the easiest way I could put it. Sergio Busquets hanging up the boots. Jordi Alba hanging up the boots. Herman Berterame, the $15 million man coming over from Liga MX. Let's start with this. What have you liked the most from this newest version of Inter Miami that we've seen so far?
I think Rodrigo de Paul has taken on more responsibility in midfield with Sergio Busquets gone. He looks like he's refreshed, reinvigorated. I thought that he had a very underwhelming start to his Inter Miami career. It wasn't readily apparent to me how he fit into the system and what he actually brought to the team. Energy, of course, he always brings that, but I wanted to see more quality from a player that we know has quality. He's really taken on a bigger role this year for Inter Miami. Now, look, different player than Sergio Busquets, but I think that he is being asked to be more dangerous in the attack and get up and support the attack a little bit more and help Lionel Messi with some playmaking stuff, which I don't necessarily think is his strong suit, but if he's closer to goal, he can make things happen. We saw against DC United, he scored an absolutely fantastic goal in and around the box. I think he can bring that long distance shooting, the ability to combine with Messi, the understanding. And I really like Yannick Bright. I think he's one of the best quote unquote defensive midfielders in terms of breaking up possession for the opponent in the entire league. The one thing that you're missing right now with Inter Miami is a guy that's going to set the tempo for this team, a guy that's going to be able to dictate the rhythm of a game like a Sergio Busquets could. I think David Ayala could potentially be that player. He is a really smooth operator in midfield. He's very composed. It's just going to be a matter of getting him up to speed, getting him some more games. And then for me, a big part of it, because Inter Miami is going to score goals, it's just what do they look like defensively trying to defend in transition. I thought they were way too loose and way too open against DC United in the second half. And even Javier Mascherano spoke about it. They didn't have any control of the second half. And DC United was absolutely deserving of that goal they scored and potentially even getting out of there with a point, which, before the season, I would have thought this Inter Miami team would have ran them off the field 5-0. But there were numerous instances where Inter Miami had their fullbacks caught on the back post, numbers down. And if DC United's a little bit better in the attack in the final third, then they would equalize and they would have gotten something out of that game. So that's something that Javier Mascherano is going to continue to have to figure out with this defensive team.
Dax, I'm happy you brought that up because I've brought this up to numerous coworkers that cover Inter Miami football like me. The fullbacks are up with the attack, I think, tremendously. Too much.
Yeah.
Too many times I see Mikael and Maxi Falcone. By the way, Falcone not available tonight.
Right.
He's not going to be playing. But regardless, too many times Inter Miami, a team who loves to have possession, they get hit on the counter, and Mikael and Falcone are running for their life. So I think that's something Mascherano's working for. I laughed a little bit when he mentioned Yannick Bright being defensive. Partner, everybody's up. Everybody's up in these formations. Yeah. Rodrigo DePaul against DC United had the most touches around the box. There's 2 games in a row that he's had the most touches around the box. So I think tactically, Inter Miami's still trying to figure things out. Dax, obviously you went through a couple of things that you didn't like from the Inter Miami side, but what do you think's that one thing that they need to work on the most as they progress in this season and hopefully, are in the mix to win a CONCACAF Champions Cup, something they've never done?
Yeah, it's that attacking and that defending balance that you just spoke about. And Inter Miami is going to score goals. They're going to create chances. I don't think it matters how many numbers they actually send into the attack. If you have Lionel Messi and 3 or 4 runners off of him, you're going to create chances. He still has the best vision in all of Major League Soccer, potentially in the world still. Okay. Now, he doesn't move around like he used to. He doesn't have that same explosion and that same burst that he used to. I mean, there were numerous times, Mike, in leg 1 against Nashville where it was Messi against one of those center backs 1v1, and he can't get by them using his pace and his quickness like he used to. So Messi, he needs to combine with teammates in and around the box, and he needs players to run off him. That's why I really love them bringing back Tadeo Allende. Matteo Silvetti is also a player who needs to be on the field at times to be able to stretch backlines. And so I don't worry about Inter Miami when they attack. I would actually like to see them have more balance on the other side of the ball. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If both fullbacks are in the attack and Rodrigo DePaul is in the attack and you have all your attacking players buzzing around all over the place, well, you have Yannick Bright and your 2 center backs there to put out fires. That's not enough. Right. You are going to get burned in transition. And so I would love to see Javier Mascherano say, hey, listen, let's have one fullback who's a little bit more pragmatic. One fullback stay closer to the center backs so you can defend with 4 players in transition. And then maybe you have a situation where there are games where Bertarame gets a rest and you put Messi as a false 9 and you move Rodrigo DePaul higher up the field. So then you can get Ayala on the field next to Yannick Bright. So there's more balance in midfield because Rodrigo DePaul, he's a little bit of a maverick. He just kind of goes and he kind of does his own thing and he'll pop
midfielder. Dax.
Yeah,
he'll know a little bit about that.
I do. He'll pop up. He'll pop up in the back line. He'll pop up right next to the striker. He'll pop up on the right. He'll pop up on the left. And you just need a little bit of balance sometimes, especially when you play against these better teams. I'll be really curious to see how they handle Nashville in transition tonight.
Yeah, I tremendously agree. Dax McCarty is our guest here on Pink Smoke, former MLS and United States men's national team footballer, Apple TV analyst. Dax, when it comes to Germán Berterame, I've heard a lot of people have takes about Germán. He's not scoring goals. He hasn't figured out the Inter Miami system. Partner, I personally disagree with that because if you look at the DC United goal Rodrigo DePaul had, that was all Berterame winning the ball in the box, giving a great ball to Segovia, and then have a beautiful cross-keep finish by DePaul. Are you one of those? Are you one of those? I guess soccer analysts that thinks Berterame is still trying to find his footing, or do you think he's fitting right in with this Inter Miami group?
Sorry, Mike. I got to go with the people against you here, man. I still think he's trying to find his footing, and I think that's really obvious to see.
Is that scoring goals? Is that the definitive reason Mascherano brought him in?
Yes. Okay. You cannot convince Inter Miami ownership. You cannot convince Lionel Messi. You cannot convince me or these supporters that Germán Berterame was brought in to press fullbacks effectively and win the ball and just try to make passes in and around the box. Germán Berterame is a really multifaceted player. I don't think he's been as bad as maybe some other people. I do think he has been fitting in okay in terms of build-up, in terms of defending and his pressing, and his attitude has been industrious. He's been fantastic, but he needs to score goals. Lionel Messi's not going to be able to shoulder that burden by himself. Luis Suarez, even at his age, he scored 17 goals last year in all competitions. Yeah. I mean, that's not nothing. And so From Bertarame, you're expecting at least 17, if not into the 20s, because I think he's got that quality. I think he will score goals, Mike, but my bigger concern with Bertarame right now is he's not finding chances. Usually, if Bertarame was finding chances and just missing, I would say that's going to even out in the long run. He will be able to put the ball in the back of the net. But right now, my biggest concern is he's not finding chances. And I definitely think that there is an element of like his teammates are still getting to know his movements. He's still trying to get on the same page with Messi. He's still trying to figure out how he can be most effective. And for him, I actually think he needs to stay between the box. He doesn't need to be going out wide. He doesn't need to be dropping into midfield. If he's being asked to defend, sure, do that. But he needs to be in the box where goals are scored, because if you watched him in Mexico, he was an absolute killer. He finished off everything and anything in and around the box when he got chances. It's why numerous MLS teams have tried to sign him in the past. He will figure it out. Inter Miami will figure it out. But right now, it's disjointed and it's a little bit underwhelming to start the season.
We got CONCACAF Champions Cup Leg 2 with Inter Miami and Nashville coming up next. We'll get Dax's prediction here at the end of the interview. Now, Dax, I did want to transition a bit into the World Cup. You've made caps. You were a captain of the United States men's national team before. For me, partner, just being a fan on the outside looking in, 02 was really when I started following this squad and the run that they were able to go. I was 8 years old. My dad and I, we were waking up and watching those games, partner. So I've had Taylor Twellman, I've had Sasha Question, I've had all of your buddies on here, partner, and I think we're all in agreement. I think you got to be one of the 8 with the group that the group that our United States men's national team are in. You don't know who you're going to play after that. That's the weird part. But, partner, having this be on home soil, having a quality manager like Mauricio Pochettino as the manager, I'm really putting that expectation on our lads to be one of the 8 teams left.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair at all.
Okay.
It took Mauricio Pochettino a little while to get the players on the same page, to try to figure out what is the best system that fits the players. It looks to me like he's figured out that he needs to play with a back 3, with 3 center backs and some aggressive wing backs and some dual 10s. That looks like the system that's going to get the best out of this team and out of these players. Based on current form, you would think that with the home support and the group that they got, this U.S. men's national team needs to get out of their group with no issues, and they need to win a knockout round game and probably 2 for it to be considered a success. So it's not going to be easy. Certainly, they've played Paraguay. They've played Australia recently. And those were really tough games. They were battles. The U.S. men's national team obviously were successful, but it's going to be different in the World Cup. There are going to be nerves. It's going to be a ton of pressure. And I think you're going to see a U.S. men's national team rise to the occasion. I know that there's a lot of skepticism around that team right now, but I'm in full agreement with you. I would love to see them get to the last 8. And then when you're there, you're playing with house money. Anything can happen.
Outside of our lads, Dax, who is kind of sticking out to you? I mean, obviously the Frances, the Portugals, the Spains. Is there a team you're kind of giving leadway to as we almost get to summer?
Yeah, I think Argentina, the defending champions, they have to be considered the favorite. Look, I think we're under no illusions that Lionel Messi, if he's fit, he's going to play in this last World Cup. This will be his last World Cup. So you've got a lot of emotional connection there for this Argentina team to defend their title and to send out the greatest player of all time on a high. So I absolutely think they're going to be in the mix. France is probably top to bottom the most talented national team out there. They could field 2 separate 11s and still be competitive and still go on to potentially win the tournament. So those 2 are the favorites for sure. You have England, who's always going to challenge. Spain and Germany are always fun to watch. They always have exciting players that are going to make things complicated for the opponent. And a dark horse team is Morocco. I mean, Morocco qualifying out of Africa, they are one of the most fun teams to watch. And they've got great balance in their team. They defend well, but they attack well. They've just got so many fun players to watch who are tricky. That is not going to be a fun team to face in the knockout rounds. Keep an eye on Morocco.
And then obviously them making it all the way to one of the final 4 teams in last year's World Cup, quality all over the place. Partner, did you see the business with them, the Senegal business, and them releasing Senegal from the championship that they won? What that? You're going to, Dax, you explain that one to me?
I can't because honestly, I have no idea why they did that. I remember seeing the scenes about what happened. There was some sort of massive like VAR penalty confusion. One team
Yeah.
walked off the field and then the other team came back on. It was chaos. It was utter chaos. And so I the news just came out today that they
Yeah.
overturned it and gave it to Morocco. I don't know enough about why they did that to really speak on it in an educated way and to try to
Mhm.
tell you exactly what
Yeah,
happened.
it's just
I
like
just don't. I'm not a big
yeah.
fan of a result happening and a game being over and a team lifting a trophy, and then unless something egregious happened, you then retroactively take it away from that team who won it. It just feels a little bit weird to me, and I definitely need to know a little bit more about the situation. But
Mhm.
initial thoughts, don't like it.
It's just like usually like, oh, it's because the team cheated. They had this player who wasn't supposed to be playing. I don't think I saw any of that. That was the first time for me. Now, partner, before I let you go, I gotta ask. I'm a diehard Manchester United fan. My dad took me to a game when I was 10, and I think it may be Chicago, where I saw Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, and all the boys pre-Ronaldo. I was sold. I've been a fan since. Now,
Yep.
do you have an allegiance to? Obviously, we love our MLS. I mean, part of you've played for a ton of MLS teams in your
Yep.
career, but do you have a team in European football that you gravitate to?
Mike, I'm a sicko like you, man. I'm a Man United fan. I
Yeah!
love to I,
Finally!
I love to torture myself on a regular basis. My favorite player growing up, I had a couple, obviously, but I loved watching Zidane. But the
Mm,
minute I set eyes on Paul Scholes, that Ginger Prince, and what he was doing in a Man United jersey, and the fact that he was just an all-around midfielder who could do everything. He was just as he had the ability to get a crazy red card and go into a leg-breaking tackle with someone as he would be able to bang one in from 30 yards out in the top corner. And
yep.
I just loved watching him, and I tried to model my game after him a little bit to a very poor effect. But
Come on.
that made me fall in love with Man United. So yes, I'm a glutton for
Yeah.
punishment like you. Maybe
I
we're back. I don't know. Maybe
I'm
we're back.
listen, I'm not one of those guys, oh, it looks too much like Ollie Listen, if Carrick gets us into Champions League, brother, you got to bring him back. I
I
don't
think
care.
so. I
I
think
don't
so.
care. You got to bring him back.
He's the
Now,
right man for the job.
once again, Dax McCarty, former MLS and United States men's national team footballer, Apple TV analyst. We all see him. Now, Dax, did I see something that you're going to be calling games now too for Apple TV? Did I see
Yeah,
that
man.
right?
I'm going back and forth. Me and Sasha Kleshchen, we do 1 week in the studio.
Love it.
So he's in the studio. Excuse me. I'm calling a game. So I've called 2 games already under my belt. I loved it. I love being back in stadiums. I've got Atlanta United, DC United this weekend.
Amazing. So we could all see Dax there. And then final last thing, I promise, partner. Appreciate all the time. Final score tonight, and does Lionel Messi score goal number 900 in front of the home fans tonight?
Lionel Messi does score tonight. Final result is going to be 2-2. Nashville SC goes through on away goals.
Ah, Dax for the Inter Miami Radio Network. You
I'm
can't do that.
sorry. I'm sorry. I got to call it
It's
like I
okay.
see it.
Listen,
Now, I could
you
look
are.
stupid, but
It's okay. You're a proper United fan, partner. So you're all forgiven on this show.
love it.
And you are welcome back anytime, my friend. Appreciate
Appreciate
all
you,
the
man.
time and looking forward to watching you on your game this weekend, okay?
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you having me.
Yep, that was Dax McCarty. Appreciate all the time from him. Folks, I got to take a time out. This is your Inter Miami Radio Network. Welcome on back to Pink Smoke. Thanks to Dax McCarty, former MLS footballer, United States men's national team player, and Apple TV analyst. Had a tremendous amount of fun. Oh, Damien, I love that he was a United fan. First one ever that I've had on the airways.
It's like an instant bond.
Oh, yeah, been through hell and back the last decade. It is what it is. Decade, 13 years for that matter. Folks, I got to go around the MLS presented by our great partners at your local South Florida Audi dealer. We all know that feeling, a change of plans, an unexpected curve, and a new opportunity. Instead of overthinking it, what if you just said yes? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer is easy because the Q3 is made for the S-Life. With the power and room to handle whatever pops up, say yes to adventure, escape, and yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that is real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the S-Life. Learn more at AudiUSA.com. That is AudiUSA.com. We're going to take a look at the MLS table and as well as the CONCACAF Champions Cup because that is the task at hand tonight. Inter Miami well on their way, in my opinion, to advancing to the round of 8. Now, Damian Perez told me not to jinx it in the break, but I'm sorry, Damian. I'm very confident with our Herons. This is a team, when push comes to shove, Lionel Messi goes belt to bottom to.
Yeah, and I mean, it really comes back to the fact that Inter Miami over the weekend, they rested everybody, basically everybody. A lot of new players from the B side, they kind of got their opportunity on Saturday. So this game was circled. This game was the priority, and they showed it over the weekend.
Inter Miami currently sitting third in the MLS. They are 2-1-1, 2 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. The lone loss coming against LAFC in that opening showdown that our Herons were at the Coliseum. And it was basically a sold-out Coliseum, lost 3-0. LAFC also still involved in CONCACAF Champions Cup action. But the other 2 teams ahead of Inter Miami, Nashville and NYCFC. Nashville sitting at 3-1. NYCFC sitting at 3-1. So our Herons right now, as we go around the MLS, they are 3-1 in MLS play. Now, I've already mentioned CONCACAF Champions Cup action coming up with our Inter Miami Herons and Nashville, but teams that are still left: Philadelphia and America, Cincinnati and Tigres, Vancouver and Seattle. You got San Diego and Toluca. Monterrey actually losing to Cruz Azul last night. We had 2 matchups wrap up last night, that being Cruz Azul advancing 4-3 on the aggregate over Monterrey, and then LAFC able to advance against Alajuelense 2-1 with a basically game-winning goal by Davi Martinez in extra time. Davi Martinez, a goal scorer all the way back in that fixture against the Inter Miami Herons as well. The Galaxy currently up 3-0 against Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant, the lone side that isn't part of Liga MX and the MLS. Mount Pleasant is the Jamaican side that is representing those leagues in the round of 16. They are well on their way out, being down 3-0 to the LA Galaxy. That game will be coming up tomorrow night. But the games tonight, Vancouver and Seattle, Philadelphia and America, and Inter Miami and Nashville. Let's take a look at our injury report presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath. Folks, Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, they are the ones that always have your back. Now, before I get a little more on them, Damian Perez, you got Maxi Falcone. Maxi Falcone currently dealing with that knee injury, and he is the lone player that is on the injury report presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, and he suffered that knee injury last week against Nashville.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because that's a position coming into this season that Inter Miami really wanted to address. They did with Mikael, but I still think it's very, very low. We don't have a lot of center backs. That's really what it comes down to. Noah Allen tried adapting to that center back position, but I think we can both agree he kind of has the left back characteristics. So it's a position coming into the season that was already tough for Inter Miami. I think Maxi Falcone has been great for Inter Miami since he arrived. So it's an injury that we're really going to have to overcome.
So the only and lone player on the Inter Miami injury report presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fromrath is Maxi Falcone with that knee injury. And I agree with Damian. It is a big one. But folks, for 40 years, Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fromrath has stood up for clients and South Florida communities. If you've been injured, their experienced attorneys across South Florida are ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients. There is no cost for a case evaluation and no fees unless they win. Visit abogado-florida.com. That is ABOGADO-Florida.com. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fromrath, proud supporters of Inter Miami CF and ESPN South Florida. They have main offices in West Palm Beach. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fromrath. Damian, your prediction on tonight's game as Inter Miami gears up for leg 2, 0-0 on the aggregate. And Dax McCarty did mention that away goals are going to be a thing. So if Nashville scores first, they will technically be up 2-0 in the fixture.
Yeah, they got the advantage in any case of a tie. That's important. First things first, do not allow any goals, especially early. I think Inter Miami does overcome this challenge. They do win 2-0. I have Messi scoring his 900th goal, and I also have Berterame scoring his first goal of the season for Inter Miami.
All right, I'm a little. I mean, we beat them when push comes to shove. 3-0 Inter Miami. Lionel Messi with a brace, and Berterame getting his first goal. That's where I'm at this point. Until Nashville proves that they could beat us in an elimination game and a big game, I don't think that this is going to go Nashville's way. Inter Miami and Lionel Messi have always had their number. That does not change tonight. 900 goals, brother. I mean, what an accomplishment. Whenever it
Unreal.
happens, if it's tonight, if it's, next MLS fixture, whenever it happens, I mean, Damian, you're a Barcelona fan. I love Lionel Messi, but can't stand Barcelona. But you've been following Messi as close as anybody throughout the last, 15 years. What is that going to mean to Messi? Do you think they stop the game when it happens? It's a home game.
It's a good question. It's a very good question. You don't really see that often in soccer, like you do in the NBA, for example. But it's surreal. It's almost surreal, the fact that he's even down here.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. I've like you said, I've watched him growing up for Barcelona, for PSG. Dominating Europe, being the best player in the world. To have him in our backyard, it's still surreal to me.
4-2-3-1 for Inter Miami tonight. Sergio Reguilon, Mikael, Gonzalo Luan, and Facundo Mora. The two DMs, Yannick Bright and Rodrigo De Paul. The midfielders, left to right, Telasco Segovia, Lionel Messi centralized, Tadio Allende on the right. The lone striker is Herman Berterame, and then Dane St. Clair in net. Nashville going with the same formation of 4-2-3-1. From left to right, the defenders, Nahar, Palacios, Woldezi, and Lovitz. The two DMs, Yazbek and Corcoran. And then the three midfielders from left to right, you got Espinoza, Mukhtar, and Madrigal. And then Sam Surridge, the lone striker up top. Dax McCarty, appreciate him joining the program. He said, look out for Espinoza. He's been really liking his game for Inter Miami, or for Nashville. And Damian, Nashville had a crazy Mukhtar goal the last time that they played in the MLS. So this is a team in Nashville that has 3 league wins already. I agree with Dax that BJ Callahan is a hell of a coach. I go back to when Callahan won a Gold Cup about 2 years ago, last summer, two summers ago. But it's 3-0 Inter Miami, folks. They don't lose to this team when push comes to shove. Messi with the brace, Berterame with the first goal. Book it. Now, folks, we do not have the game tonight on your Inter Miami radio network, but what we will have for you is your next MLS fixture. Inter Miami going to be in action match day 5. You can hear all the action in New York on your Inter Miami radio network. It's going to be a 1 o'clock start time on the English side. And Damian, a noon start time on Deportes?
Yes, correct.
This has been Pink Smoke, folks. Once again, thanks to Dax McCarty for joining the program. I've had an absolute blast and look forward to our Inter Miami Herons getting victory tonight in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup.